John Thune just made a stunning claim on the Senate floor. He says these policies have had deadly consequences.
Mr. President, enforcing our nation's laws is not optional. Securing our borders isn't optional. And supporting the men and women who do this important work, funding law enforcement, isn't optional either. That should go without saying. But unfortunately, Mr. President, members of the Democrat Party have made it very clear that they disagree. Incredibly, Democrats have refused to provide a single penny for border security and immigration law enforcement for fiscal year 2026. That's $0 for a physical presence at our nation's border. $0 to deport criminals who have made their way into our country illegally. If Democrats had their way, illegal immigrants would be allowed to flood across our nation's southern border entirely unchecked. And I guess we really shouldn't be surprised, Mr. President. After all, this is hardly the first time Democrats have demonstrated that border security and immigration enforcement are at the very bottom of their priority list. For decades now, Democrat-led cities and states have implemented sanctuary policies that prevent local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. These policies have had deadly consequences, yet Democrats have defended them and continued to uphold them across the country. Then there was the crisis at the southern border. Four straight years of record-breaking illegal immigration at our southern border under Democrats and President Biden. As the New York Times reported, and I quote, "After Mr. Biden became president, migrant encounters at the southern border quickly doubled, then kept rising. New arrivals overwhelmed border stations, then border towns, and eventually major cities like New York and Denver," end quote. That from the New York Times, Mr. President. Now contrast that with today. Illegal crossings have plummeted to a trickle. And as of the end of April, not a single illegal immigrant has been released at the border and into our country for an entire year. But, Mr. President, Democrats are apparently determined to bring back unchecked illegal immigration. And to do that, they are embracing the far-left ideologies of defund law enforcement and abolish ICE. These were once considered fringe positions among Democrats. Today, they're basically the official position of the Democrat Party. The junior senator from California said in January, and I quote, "I'm not giving ICE or Border Patrol another dime," end quote. The junior senator from Massachusetts told a crowd in February, and I quote, "We know that we must defund and abolish ICE," end quote. And one Democrat Senate candidate has even said, and I quote, "Dismantling ICE is the moderate position," end quote. Mr. President, this is today's Democrat Party, a party enthralled to its far-left base, and a party that has completely abandoned its national security responsibilities when it comes to enforcing immigration law and securing our borders. Mr. President, needless to say, as long as Republicans are in charge, we are not going to let Democrats defund border security and immigration law enforcement. So we're moving forward with a bill to fund these important responsibilities for the remainder of the Trump administration so that Democrats cannot again put our nation's security and American safety in jeopardy. Mr. President, I don't know who Democrats think benefits from blocking funding for Border Patrol and ICE. The American people certainly don't benefit from there being no law enforcement at the border. They don't benefit from human traffickers and drug smugglers being able to enter our country unchecked, or from rapists, murderers, and other criminals being allowed to live freely in our country. The Democrats' position puts illegal immigrants in danger as well. Border Patrol agents are the ones pulling illegal immigrants out of the Rio Grande and rescuing dehydrated migrants in the desert. But Democrats don't support these agents' work. If Democrats' position helps anyone, it helps the cartels, the coyotes, and other criminals who prefer to act without risk of detection and apprehension. And I suspect that's why we haven't heard much from Democrats in recent weeks about the core of this legislation. Democrats haven't exactly demonstrated an eagerness to come to the floor and defend open borders. And I strongly suspect that's because at some level they know that their position is completely indefensible. Mr. President, President Trump and Republicans have cleaned up Democrats' mess at the border. We've secured the southern border and put criminals on notice that they will no longer be living freely in our country. And we plan to keep it that way. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
Senator John Thune took to the Senate floor with a sharp message on border security and immigration enforcement. Early in his remarks, Thune argued that enforcing immigration laws and funding law enforcement should not be optional responsibilities of government. He then accused Democrats of refusing to support funding for border security and immigration enforcement programs. The most attention-grabbing moment came when Thune claimed that sanctuary policies have had what he called deadly consequences, arguing that local governments should cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Thune also pointed to immigration trends during the Biden administration, citing reports that border communities in major cities struggled to manage large numbers of migrant arrivals. He contrasted those years with current border conditions and argued that stricter enforcement measures have significantly reduced illegal crossings. The South Dakota senator went on to criticize calls from some Democrats to reduce funding for IC and Border Patrol, portraying those positions as increasingly influential within the party. Closing his remarks, Thune pledged that Republicans would continue supporting border security, funding, and immigration enforcement efforts, arguing that stronger enforcement is necessary for public safety and national security. What do you think about Thune's arguments? Let us know in the comments below.